turmoil. Do we end up in a big war here? I don't know. But what I do know is we're here to talk about crypto. We're here to look at the prices of what's happening in crypto. And it is Thursday, and we have our resident price analyst, one of the best people for looking at price and telling us what's going on in the price, joining us today to share his thoughts on what he thinks about what's happening with the prices of these different cryptos. Now, some of these are suggestions from you, the viewer, that you made from last week's video. And if you want to make some suggestions this video, put them in the comment section, not in the chat, but the comment section, and up to 2 will review it. So thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. And if you like money in crypto and you're looking for a real investor to take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video and subscribing with that all notifications bell. I am not a financial advisor. Paul is not a financial advisor. We are investors ourselves, sharing with you how we think about the crypto market and specific cryptos, at least on my part, that I like. Now, I do own or plan to own most of what we talk about on this channel that I bring up, because I don't talk about cryptos I don't believe in. But Thursdays, we take your suggestions of what to look at, and I give you my straightforward thoughts on those, as well as Paul gives you his thoughts on what's happening with the price. Special thank you to our Patreon members. If you're interested in Patreon, we do give you a private Discord channel to interact with myself and other Rainmakers if that interests you. So make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Let's go ahead and welcome our producer, D Money, who's joining us today from his office. Welcome.
Hey, Jay, what's going on? Yeah, it's good to be here with everybody. We got Paul here as well. Let's go ahead. Let's get the party started, and then I'll leave it to you two, okay?
Let's do it. Join me, Rainmakers. Awesome. I love that intro. I especially love the gold, like cryptos falling down, like in the Matrix, by the gold, because that's what I'm all here about. Not necessarily the gold, but the returns on my money. When I was a kid, I learned that there was a way to make my money work for me. What a powerful concept, right? So that brings you into the world of investing. And if you're new to the world of investing, boy, it is some deep water. And in the deep water, there's sharks and all kinds of things. So what we try to do is inform the audience as to our thoughts specifically on the crypto market in this channel. And we have Paul joining us from Definity. Now, Paul is a price analyst with 30 years experience. And yeah, he brings that price analysis experience to crypto and the crypto market on our channel. So thank you, Paul, so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. It's great to be here. It's an interesting market, shall we say. Geopolitical tensions are quite high, and we're seeing a bit of a correction. But within the corrections, I think there could be some good opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm curious to get your take on some things, what's happening. Do you mind if we start off with Bitcoin and also what you see happening on the other markets that may affect Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we start off with the main market, so what's basically been going on is, well, actually, if I can just go very quickly to the equity markets, because whenever there's fear in the market, that's where you see it. You see it straight away in the equity markets, and this is a chart of the S&P 500. And it's heading towards some really important support. If it goes just a little bit lower, this really could crater downwards. Now, that's not a trading recommendation. That's just saying it's looking a bit weak. The NASDAQ, which was leading the market up, again, is looking very weak as well. So we're in what's called a risk-off scenario. And this obviously is affecting all the markets. Now, although I've got 30 years experience of looking at charts, it doesn't mean I don't get stuff wrong. Because, of course, last week I was looking for an extension because we were bullish around this low. We were looking for a place to pick up Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. And we picked a pretty good level. We had a couple of aborted tries on the way down. So, we didn't get it first time, but that's what happens. But we were a little bit more bullish than the rest of the market. And we saw a really nice bounce. Now, this came off, I think, partly because over the weekend, there was very little that you could short. And when there's a potential war about to happen, people look for the first thing to bail out of that they can trade to reduce their risk. And that cryptocurrencies, 24-hour, 24/7, its advantage is also its disadvantage. So it got hit because of that. Now, I personally think when people stop and think about what's going on, and I know this is more of a fundamental rather than a technical situation, if there is a war and there are sanctions on Russia and they get ramped up and Russia's pro-crypto and Bitcoin, I think that might mean that this could rally. So it is fighting against the fear that's out there at the moment, but it's still above this very important support point. So I didn't like the fact that we broke 39,576. That was a big level, a massive breakout on the upside, which was extremely bullish. The fact that it's traded back below that is not a great sign, but it's still above these lows. So sometimes the market goes for a fake out on the first move up. It tries to shake the people out, and then we get a secondary rally. So I'm going to hold fire for the moment. I suppose that's an interesting turn of phrase given what's going on with, bailing out of everything and saying that this is going to crash. Look, it could do, right? Okay, anything can happen. And especially when the market's this volatile, we've got to keep ourselves open to any, potential move. So if it starts to head towards these lows, it's not looking good. But if it can hold these levels, rally, regain this 39,576, we can talk about this still being this corrective phase. And to be fair, we've always said that this would be a range-bound market rather than a trending market for the coming months before we wind up for this big upward trade. So, the news flow isn't good, but that may actually be a positive. We'll have to see how things go in the next week or so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, right? So I haven't been in a situation like this before. I'm good at pattern analysis, but this is a new pattern, right? So we're on the brink of Russia invading a country. I guess this happened a little bit in 2014. Obama was president of the U.S. Russia was flexing on one of his former satellites, and he's like, whatever you do, don't cross this red line or else. And then Putin's like, stepped over the red line. Okay, whatever you do, don't cross this red line or else. So I don't know, maybe he feels that Biden is an extension of Obama's presidency and that Biden won't do anything either. And maybe he's right on that. I don't know. I don't know what the U.S. is going to do in response to this. This will be, I guess, interesting to see how this plays out and what broader ambitions there are and how that affects the crypto market, right? So we're here as investors, and the goal is to buy low in order to sell high, and trying to analyze and make our best guesses as to what will happen in the coming weeks and then the months that follow. I think you're right that this news is really down and pushes the market down. Like you said, over the weekend, there's a lot of markets that are closed, but crypto's open, and a lot of people sold and brought the markets down. I think a lot of this news is bullish for cryptocurrency in the long term, though. Let's move on to the next thing you want to look at.
Sure. Well, I guess the one that, well, I'll say very quickly, the other situation when this happened for me was the Gulf War. So when the Gulf War happened, I know it's very different. You never know how much anything's going to escalate, but and hopefully this doesn't, and it gets diffused diplomatically, even though there's a lot of saber rattling. But on the Gulf War, as soon as the war started, there was so much build up to the war that when it did actually start, things that had rallied like gold and oil and everything else crashed. So on the announcement, the market hates uncertainty. There's this big build up towards an announcement. And, you have to think about, well, what would surprise the market? There's been a lot to lead you into what's about to happen. So in other words, it wouldn't be a big surprise if there was some form of altercation. And if that does happen, it's almost like the market gets a release because it's kind of geared up for that. And the markets then come off. Now, then it's a question of how things play out and whether it's going to be a long drawn out thing or a quick affair, and the market will be looking for the end of that. But, so I think ultimately, if there is some form of final resolution one way or the other, the markets will actually retrace. Now, the first thing I go for is what are the strongest markets doing? And you know, one of my favorites has been the metaverse type coins, and Decentraland is for me still trading way above its first wave. So this low all the way down here, we know everything looked terrible. The market had a really nice rally. It's had a correction, but it's still potentially in this upward trend. So I would have liked it to take out this 3.48. Of course, you know, who wouldn't when you bullish a coin or you've got it, which I have. So it's now started to rally, and these are a couple of green candles. It's not massive, but it's moved up. So I would like this to extend and back into this consolidation range, which was I was hoping would turn into a triangular constriction. Would have been great because we would have geared up for another buy. But you know, we can't add to this position yet until this settles down a bit and confirms that it wants to go higher. So relatively speaking, I think the coins that for me that could potentially be long-term buys are actually holding in relatively well. Now, there are some that aren't doing very well and have actually broken their relative lows. So we've got to bear that in mind. Like, for example, Cardano, which I thought was going to hold in quite well, and Solana, both have actually broken their respective lows there, which is not a good sign. So it means that there may be another downward leg to those particular coins. But I think longer term, they will turn around. It's just that they've got to find their relative value levels. And also this sort of risk-off situation has got to end.
Agreed. Yeah, let's take a look at the next one that you want to look at.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm quite happy to jump into the viewer picks if you are. Yeah, because
let's do that. We have a lot. Thank you to the viewers for their suggestions. We have a bunch to blow through, so let's get started on those because the viewers been awesome with giving us lots that they want to see.
Yes, indeed. Because I was thinking if I have time at the end, I could look at a couple of extra ones, but it would just be the majors. But we have got quite a few. And again, as you say, thank you very much for all those suggestions. So the first one we've got, I mean, some of these I may have seen on this show or talked about, or perhaps not. If so, I can't remember them, which I think is a good thing from a technical point of view because you get that instant sort of view without any bias. But MTV, now which one is that?
MultiVAC.
So it is MultiVAC. Okay. So MultiVAC this is a really interesting chart because we've got this big correction and huge amount of support around here. 0.006 is holding in extremely well. And it's turning around. It's got a rounding low. It has to do a little bit more work, as we say, to change this trend. So if we draw in a trend line, a simple trend lines are the most underrated things in technical analysis because they are very simple and they can give you a binary whether you should buy or sell. Not that they're right all the time, but it's just a good, very simple way of saying, well, is this in an upward trend or a downward trend? Now, we take the secondary line because that first one, the trend angle comes in at quite a shallow angle, so it's got to do a lot of work before it breaks that. But you may have heard in technical analysis, we look at something called a double bottom, and that's when the market makes a low, rallies, makes another low, and then rallies. So where it looks super bullish for me, and I take a step back and say where I would get most interested, that would be at 0.0116. Now you might say, yeah, but you could buy it here. Actually, yeah, you could. If you were a short-term trader, you could buy it here with a very tight stop and say, well, if it breaks back below this low, then exit the position. Now, that's how I'd be thinking about this from a short-term trader's point of view. But from a long-term point of view, I would need this trend line. This trend line's just broken. I'd need this longer-term trend line to break, but I prefer it to have taken out this resistance point. But I can understand a bit of buying at the current level.
Yeah. It looks like the momentum downward is slowing down for sure. For me, it's still a wait. This one was pumping when most everything else wasn't. So pumping all the way as soon as November and October. And so I just think it'll be out of the narrative cycle for a while and cooling. So that's my thought on this, that for me, it's a wait. It was recently in people's minds because it was in the forefront of everybody talking about it. And so the cool off has only been happening for about 3 months now, since late November, December, January, February. I think it's going to be a little while before this one runs. Could be wrong. But for me, there's so many things on deeper discounts, bigger. So this one was as high as almost, 2.7 cents, and it's currently on sale for less than a cent. So it's come down 75%, which in the crypto space is nice. But there's other things right now on bigger discounts. So for me, this is a wait, or even I would sell personally to roll into things that are at, that I like fundamentally, that are a 95% discount.
Right. I mean, also, do you know much about the technology behind this? To know,
I haven't looked at it lately. I get so many things in my mind.
yeah.
I know their website says, so pioneering flexible blockchain platform based on trusted sharding.
Okay.
So,
Okie dokie. So, yeah, thank you for that suggestion. And yeah, very interesting technically, definitely with this rounding low. So there's definitely something going on there.
yeah.
But as I say, it just needs to do a little bit more for the long term. But there's definitely some buying going on. So the next one is Woo. Should we go to that?
Yeah,
So is that Woo Trade? Is that the one?
I think so.
Yeah.
This one, yeah, Woo Network, it's showing up on CoinGecko for me,
Okay.
which let me make sure it's looking the same as what you're looking at. I don't know that is the same.
Okay. Right. So we should go to CoinGecko and pop that in. So Woo. So we got Woo Network. So is it? You said Woo Network?
Yeah, Woo
Yep.
Network. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. The other chart actually looked quite interesting, but oh, hello. Looks relatively similar. Yeah, I mean, okay. So what I'm looking at here is the fact that the market is in, well, both of those markets, even though they may be different, are in a corrective phase again, but very close to long-term support. So I'm trying to get a crosshair that gives you this support area here. Let me switch that to log. So as you can see, it's come back to 0.4 and above. This is where I prefer. Yeah. So this is giving me some levels as I move it across, which is I'm trying to shake off, but it won't go. So anyway, 0.04, which is massive support, 0.4, sorry, not 0.04, 0.4, which is the top end of that really sharp breakout. So what we're having is a dip into that, which is great because that is where it should stop. Tons of support there. So although it hasn't turned around, I would be waiting for that to hold. And if we get a green move up, then maybe joining a short-term buy with a stop below that. So I wouldn't want it to break below this 0.4 level. That would worry me because this has been such good support for quite a long time. So any close below that, I think I would sort of run for cover and then see where it stops after that. There's no natural support, or not much, until we get to about maybe that's 0.27 on the low, something like that. Yeah. So about 0.27 on the low on this particular consolidation. And then below that, we're looking at all the way down here. That wouldn't be fun to be sitting in. So I think for the moment, if you're a short-term trader, looking at these levels here, there's some good support. So buying it with a tight stop. As a long-term trader, I would have to wait for a breakout before I get excited.
Yeah, exactly. There is some really good support there. So I don't know how this is going to play out. It's interesting how many times it's come back to that support and bounced up, even in July when the market was like way, way down. So Woo is a new trading platform with, let me read this to you, low fees or zero fees, which I like. And they say they have tons of liquidity on it. So right here it says WooX is one of the most liquid crypto exchanges in the world, providing traders with superior order execution at zero or the lowest cost fee structure. Really, really interesting. I have not seen this one before, but this one I want to look more into
Brilliant.
as to what they're their token does for anything, that I don't know. But looks really, really interesting. Thanks to our viewer who suggested this. We'll see what happens in this climate. If it breaks below this, it could come down to some really, really attractive pickups. It really is only down, like 67% is all from its highs. And what's interesting is March and April and May, when everything went high, it did too. Having been really cheap at like 2 cents, it went to $1.31. Then retraced in July to here, and then way up, we had $1.58, and it's way back down at the 42 cents range. I really like for this one to break lower. There wasn't so much at 95% off. I would probably be buying this one, just at least a position in case it hits this support and then bounces up. At present, I'm just going to wait because there's so many projects I do like that are 95 to 97% off. And this one's only 67% discount. It's kind of like, you go to the store on just the right day and all the nice clothes that you want to buy, have these huge tags. And though like the 60% sale rack looks great, I mean, there's this other sale rack that has 95%. And so that captures all your attention.
Great stuff. It reminds me of the Warren Buffett quote where he once said he felt like an oversexed man in a harem, which was because he didn't know what to buy, which is, I suppose, his way of expressing that same kind of view, really. Brilliant. Great suggestion. Thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. So the next one is ICE. So is this the Decentral Games ICE? Oh, that would be interesting if it is.
Interesting. I think it's Popsicle Finance ICE.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Popsicle Finance US dollar. Okay, so this is very smooth from a technical point of view, and it seemed to sort of respect trends. So when it starts trending, it does it really smoothly. So a sort of moving average type trading system might work quite well for this. And so what we mean by that is, like, if it crosses above the moving average, it's a buy, and below the moving average, it's a sell. Some markets just trade, really nicely from a technical point of view. Unfortunately, this is trading nicely, but not in a positive way. So you remember I get excited about triangular constrictions on the upside. Well, this is making one on the downside. So if you look at this trend, it's made a low, rallied, made another low, and this is a triangle. Now, triangles are usually continuation patterns, and what that means is if you look at the prior trend, which is down, the next trend should be a breakout from this triangle to the downside. Now, the next big support that we've got is just below the psychological 3 level. Now, I would like very much for this to fail, and if it takes out this upward resistance line, that's a good sign, but it really needs to take out this 7.2 level to absolutely negate it, to negate the reversal, and then it would create another reversal pattern, which would be a double bottom, and then we could buy it. So for the moment, I can only sort of comment on what I see here. The trend is down, so we're going to have to stay with that downward trend, but it's heading towards some really fantastic support. So I would get interested around 2.5 to 2.7, or if it holds this, and if we do see a broader rally in crypto and it can negate this triangle, then it would look really interesting. Definitely 7.14 to 7.2. If it breaks that again, that's where I think we'd be turning bullish.
Yeah, I like this chart. And I was looking them up. I can see why the viewer suggested it. Let me read to you kind of their summary. Popsicle Finance is a multi-chain yield optimization platform for liquidity providers. Turn on your autopilot, relax, and boost your yield. It also allows you to connect right to the Matic network, AVAX, Phantom, Binance Smart Chain. So ETH, I like it. I like the positioning that they're in. I like this chart. I suspect looking at this chart, it's going to get even cheaper. This is already on 95% sale from its previous highs. This is that discount rack where I'm excited about, and it might go to 97% off or something like that, right? From its previous highs in just recently in November. So having been so high, probably there's going to be a cooling period, is a lot of people panic sell around the price that they loaded up on, say in August, and it brings that price down and even cheaper. So for me, this is a wait, but I like the chart. I like the narrative that they're in. Their market cap's just 37 million. Half of their total tokens are in circulation. Their total supply is only 24 million. So 12.5 million are in circulation. I like the stuff I'm reading about this. So
Yeah, great
for
stuff.
me, it's interesting.
Thank you.
Great suggestion from one of
Yeah.
our viewers. Hustle is our next one.
Okay, that's FET, right? Or
No,
no.
thus
Okay,
the
okay.
hustle.
I'll let you tell me. So HUSL, yeah.
SL, yeah.
Okay, the hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, not much to go on here. That's a bit of a tricky call. Range bound is all I can say. And it's sort of spending more time in this lower section of the range, which is not a good sign. So on the pluses, it's holding support. So it has held this support. On the negative side, it seems to fail every time it gets to 1.35. It looks like it's a new technology. So again, it could be influenced by very small positions, like big trades, but small sort of players. So technical analysis works best when you've got like lots of people playing the market, so no individual can influence it. So some of the smaller coins can get pushed around by lockups and things like that. So it makes the chart a little bit harder to read. So I would say it's going to have to be a stand aside for this one.
Yeah, let me show. I'm going to add this their website. Now, I talked to this team. They're the guy, one of the team members who created this, is a lawyer, and he's connected in the music industry in the U.S. And I think they're doing a good job. I mean, their website looks amazing. He already had some advisors that are really big in the hip hop scene. And so my only concern with this is the vesting schedule is going to continue putting price pressure down on it in the coming months. And it's amazing how well it's held up. I mean, it's held up pretty well against this line. So it came out, went almost to $4, bounced around that for a little bit all through October, and then dropped down here. And their token vesting schedule is going to put price pressure down on it for the coming forever. I mean, the public sale, there were some lockups. And so they got their tokens released over, I think, 180 days. So for 6 months, they're getting some of their tokens from even the public sale. And then the team, the advisors, the ecosystem, and the pre-sale investors all get their token unlocks as well every month. And so that's going to put a lot of downward pressure on this. That they probably were receiving some token unlocks here, and so far it didn't really push it down. There was a lot of price support there, but once they break through this price support, it might sag. Now, what's crazy about vesting schedules is it's not a whole lot of pressure downwards, but it is some pressure downwards. And so that pressure downwards is not that it can't be exceeded. A little bit of buy pressure blows right through that downward pressure because they're spread out over such a long period. So if this one catches steam, that buy pressure can quickly take it to a lot higher prices. If there isn't that buy pressure, that's where that drip of the sell pressure breaks through and breaks it lower. I am curious with how strong it's held up despite those releases, unless they change the vesting schedule, which sometimes happens.
You can also see that the upward moves here and here were on stronger volume than the retracements. So let's
share your chart. There we go.
So the upward trend here and here is on stronger volume than the retracements, which are here and here. So you can see that's actually a good sign. It means that when the volume's high, the market is going up. So as a relationship, you'd expect the trend when it corrects for volume to drop. If volume was going higher as it was correcting, that would be a warning sign. Now, it doesn't mean it won't go down, of course, because it doesn't negate that. But it's a positive. It's a positive from a kind of range bound market.
Nice. Good suggestion by our viewers. That was fun looking at this. I remember talking to the team forever ago because I had some connections that knew them, and I was curious about their project that they were doing. I'm very curious about music coming in NFT form, right? And I think there's a huge, like, eventually a lot of things should be in NFTs, including title for properties and other things should be held on the blockchain and probably in some kind of NFT form.
Definitely. It's perfect for that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a good suggestion by one of our viewers. They're interested in the same things that I am because we look at the same stuff. Let's see. Let me pull back up. Do you have what's next on our list?
I've got Matter.
Okay.
So MATTER. So we've got Matter, which is a governance token, or Antimatter.
Yes.
So it's just Matter, right? Okay. Yeah. So again, this is a looks relatively new. Now, what's happening here? It's sitting on some really, again, important support, but I have to say it's still got to do a bit more work before we can become bullish. The reason for that is if we just draw in this trend line here. So this would be the main downward trend. It's not that far away from it. So, if we can take this out, I would say it's worth a buy with a stop around here. So I'd be looking at that. But where it's trading now, it is leaning on some really important support. So if this goes, the next drop is towards 0.30. So I wouldn't like that to happen. And it needs to do a little bit more than just go sideways. So this is relatively flat. It's more like what we call a continuation pattern. So when the market goes sideways like this, it usually follows the prior trend. So what we want to see is a much sharper sort of impulsive move to negate it. Now, actually, the chart is just updated. Now, I don't know whether that's just because, it's whatever cycle it's on, it's just updated the latest price. But so that price wasn't there when we started. We can see it's actually broken that down. So that's kind of confirmed the concerns that I had that we would break this support. So if that's real, I mean, sometimes you do get rogue prices accidentally entered in. If that's real, then I'd say, yeah, it's even more reason to remain a bit more cautious for a bigger correction to 0.3. And I'd keep that trend line in there and wait until that breaks before I get bullish on it.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. This looks like a big, I'm not looking on logarithmic like you are. I'm looking at, let's see if, there we go. So this is just on the linear. So it went as high as almost $6. To me, it's forming this big W here. And notice that this low isn't as low as that low is. So I like this from a fundamental or a technical standpoint. Looking at the fundamentals, here's the website. And so this is another DeFi type project. And DeFi, a part of DeFi has taken off. Those with Phantom and Avalanche and Arbitrum that have kind of branched into that. There was a huge DeFi run in March where Binance Smart Chain and Polygon were allowing DeFi, and it was kind of a refuge from the Ethereum network that had such high transaction fees. So we had a little bit of a DeFi boom for some projects going on that were on Avalanche and Phantom the last 2 months because Avalanche and Phantom were getting so much traction. This one didn't seem to benefit from that, but looking at it, it's interesting. They offer that. And so companies like this are continuing to push forward different products in DeFi and offer different things, which is kind of cool. As I was reading through this, I like their website. They break it down so it's simple enough to understand. and giving you different DeFi options. DeFi is going to come back into the narrative. And when it does, some of these projects are going to do amazing things. Currently, market cap's around almost 12 million. 1/3 of their total token supply is in circulation. I tend to like this kind of thing where it came out at least in February. So a lot of probably their pre-sale tokens are vested in other things. So that way there's less just price pressure pushing the price down. And at some point that'll end. So it's been out just about a year now. And so probably a lot of that price pressure of pre-sale investors might be gone. And yeah, if the market takes off, this might do particularly well. So
Yeah, the long-term chart really helps actually to put that in perspective. So it does look like a correction within a sharper upward move.
yeah.
So I can see why you're a bit more positive on it than I have been. But yeah, so it's definitely one to watch. That's for sure. I did like the website.
Yeah, another great suggestion. We have lots of them. Let's take a look at Wabi. Wabi is one I did a review on back in January and February of last year.
Oh wow!
Did some amazing things in March, which is when I then sold.
Okay. Right. So this is again it's been around for a while, so that's a good sign. So it's got staying power, and as far as the recent price action goes, wow, what a great level that it's hit. So this was the base. So this was like the solid concrete foundation from which this rally went through, and then it came back corrected where to? Well, the breakout point. So this is why I like to look at these support and resistance levels. So rallied again. Shame that didn't extend there, but that's what happened. And then it's gone back into the range, broken the low of that range. So the next support that you'd be looking at is actually here again, which very sneakily the market sort of pushed it below. And I think that would have made a few people exit their positions. I certainly would have done if I was holding it, because that's an important support. So the kind of final line in the sand would be this level here, which is where there's a lot of resistance points. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and it also related to the resistance just before it as well. So there was some minor resistance there, and it's turned around from that. So this is looking good. If it can, it's trying to recover this main breakout point again, which is good. So it's got back over this first one. This is the next one, which is the most close piece of resistance, or the close resistance level from the breakout. So it needs to get above there, but this is a developing an upward trend, which is good. It's a fledgling upward trend, but it's doing the right thing. So it's moved sideways, and then you've got this very strong candle, which is good. That just needs to continue. So we could even, if we wanted to paint a bit of blue sky, draw this trend line here and say that this is what's developing. So as long as it can stay above this trend line, and crucially above this low, then I would be I would be tentatively bullish on it. So I think it's this green candle for me here is, that's a really good sign for me. I like that. It's important that it did, thrust like that, because before that it was just potentially in one of those triangular constrictions. So
yeah, this is interesting. I like the prices that it's at. It's not quite as cheap as it was a year ago when I was covering it in January and February of last year, but it's close to as cheap as then. And we had this pump in March, and then see the market gives you these kind of gifts. And so fundamentally, like it looks like on their website, they've kind of changed their approach. I believe a lot of it was based on tracking shipping and stuff, and they had a lot of connections in China, which this is an area where a few projects are involved, like VeChain and other things that you want to be able to track shipping data, right? And so centralized databases can do this, but decentralized databases can as well. In fact, decentralized databases can make it easier for the public to get information. So what kind of shipping stuff am I talking about? So say you're buying a product like chicken, and you want to make sure that the chicken has never like sat in a truck that went below freezing for a couple hours, because then maybe that chicken's spoiled or gone bad. What if you could scan the UPC code and you could see the entire history from where the chicken originated from to, okay, it was shipped okay, and the temperatures, never went below freezing and or above freezing, I guess is what we're looking for. And that way, okay, and it gives you a lot of confidence in what you're buying, as well as it helps prevent things like if, like, say a truck does get stalled, it runs out of gas, its freezer temperature raises, then they know, like, they have better tracking on that. Now, there's a lot of private companies, a lot of private databases working on that. I talked to a gal that works in the centralized industry tracking that stuff, and they track some of the biggest stuff in the world. They're one of the biggest companies in the world that does that. So it isn't something that we need decentralization for, but decentralization opens up, makes it easier for the public to see. Seems like they've shifted a little bit on that for users being able to have the app and give feedback to producers and then get rewarded in Wabi tokens. I don't remember that being so much their use case before. So they're talking about engagements. That'll be interesting. It sounds like possibly they've shifted into some additional things that they've noticed where they feel like they might get some traction, which is allowing users to be able to not only probably track things, but to give feedback to the producers of goods. And that has a value too. And so interesting. Nice shift by them. I like the price. Probably it'll come back into focus when the market takes off. I like these levels. So for me, this would be a buy. It's down all the way from, went to $1 here, and then it's down at 12 cents. So it's only 88% off. Darn it. But, it's worth a small position, in my opinion, from my portfolio.
Great. So the next one, I believe, is it Moonbeam?
Yeah.
Okay, so Moonbeam, so it's this one, US dollar. Okay, so if this is the correct one, which I'll just wait for your confirmation.
Is it showing? The writing's too small for me to see. Right now, CoinGecko is showing it at 243.
Yeah, well, yeah, 244 is here. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
yeah. So look, let me have a look at CoinGecko actually, because there's not a lot of data on this one, and there we go. So Moonbeam. Let's see what we got in terms of. Oh, okay, that's much better. Yeah. So Max, have a look at that. Now, why has that just gone like that? Let's go back to 1 year.
There's not a lot of history on
There's
this.
not a lot, no. So look, unfortunately, I'm going to just pop back to this chart because it doesn't look like there's much more on it. Yeah, this is in a downward dive, and it just needs to stop before we can get bullish. Now, there's one thing that is bullish on this, only one technical element, and it does need confirmation, and that is a spike. So when you see the market sort of collapse and panic like this, what you would look for is then a close, sort of, it would have to be more in this range here. Like if it goes down and then closes back up here, goes sideways for a bit and then rallies, then that is a good sign. So the spike is the trend ending signal. It's like a spike in the ground and the market goes up. This has made the spike, which shows that there was a panic sell, or there was a lot of selling. The next bar has been into that range, which isn't great, and now it's trying to reverse it. So it needs to get back up here before we can sort of breathe a sigh of relief. So it's done one thing which would normally be bullish, but it's not confirmed it yet. So given that the trend is still down, I think I'm going to have to wait. But if this is an interesting technology, it's definitely a good bargain basement prices right now, but it just needs technically a little bit more before we'd say buy.
Yeah, it is a very interesting technology. I have a friend that I found out was in the pre-sale on this, and he said he got his tokens, and it looks like everybody dumped on those tokens. So I don't know what the pre-sale vesting was like, but that's what caused this dump here, is that a bunch of pre-sale people got their tokens and dumped. I like this one from a fundamental standpoint. If the vesting continues to vest tokens to pre-sale investors and others, and there isn't a lot of buy pressure in the short term, then it will continue to get cheaper and cheaper and more attractive. That's what I'm suspecting on this. So for me, it's a sell, even though I like this one. And as I realized, I didn't know that they had a bunch of pre-sale investors. In fact, I wasn't quite sure, because this is one of the ones that was allowing lockups on the Polkadot ecosystem in order to get a parachain. So I wasn't sure what their fundamentals behind their token vesting were like. So seems like there was some pre-sale investors. So I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to fall off for a while before then bottoming out. And then as the Polkadot network comes back into the narrative, I expect this one fundamentally will do really well in the long term. I really like Moonbeam. And yeah, I expect it'll do well. I also like Moonriver, that's kind of a cousin to it on the Kusama network. So I like both of these.
Right. So should I have a quick look at Moonriver?
For time purposes,
Okay, let's
we'll
move
have to do that another time. Oh,
Okay.
somebody did suggest it, right? Yeah. So why don't we look at it? It is on our suggestion too.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay.
MOV.
MOVR, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. How interesting. Yeah. So yeah, well, this is again one of the ones that is pressing the lows and does really need to turn up. The trends here, if you look at the highs, they've been sort of accelerating to the downside. So this pattern of highs needs to reverse or be broken. So I put in a trend line. This trend line here needs to be broken for me to get bullish. Now, in pure price terms, it is good. It is near some good support. This is great support. It's sort of matched the prior low and it's just starting to turn around. You know, I don't know when I'm next going to look at it. So I couldn't say for sure that this would be a great place to buy it, because you know it might just take this out tomorrow, this low, and then we'd have to look at a bigger retracement. So for me, it's a wait, but I can see it's close to really good support. Where I get excited is through 114, then it's confirmed strength, and then we could be looking at a move up to sort of back to these levels at 176 plus. So I don't mind it doing a bit of work and me leaving some money on the table on the downside for the safety of it having turned around. So it's a slightly different focus. Now, if you're like, you know, Crypto Rain, and you know about the technologies and they get really, really cheap, you start rubbing your hands and going, these are bargain basement prices, let's jump in. But from my sort of perspective, I can't do that as yet.
Yeah, this one's only on 80% discount, right? So I like this one. I suspect it'll get cheaper. I don't know that it'll get cheaper. I just suspect that it will. And I hold a little bit of this, and I'll probably load up some more if it does continue to fall. And who knows? This could be the bottom, and maybe it's on its way up. But I like both of these, Moonriver and Moonbeam. It just, I think they'll fall victim to some token pressure from their vesting schedules. And we love that because we like to buy low and then sell high. So hopefully it gets even lower. So thank you to our viewers who suggested these great ones. Let's take a look at Altura.
So Altura. So Altura, right? Okay, now, so here we have something that I've been talking about for most of the show, which is a double bottom. So we've had the correction, and this is low one, and this is the rally, and then this is low number two. Now, it doesn't matter if they're at the same level, or this one was lower than this one, or this one's higher. What you're looking for is like a W shape. So actually, this is a buy. So it's it's done what it needs to do. It's broken. It may have not completely broken the downward trend, but it's. I take the first technical signal that comes to me. So the fact that it's actually just going through that now makes it even more interesting. But this has made a double bottom, which is a buy signal, and it's breaking the trend line, which is also a good sign. Now, how far can this go? Potentially up to the next sort of resistance point, or the height of the base would give a minimum projection. Now, that doesn't mean it's definitely going to go that far. It's just how far you'd expect it to go. It could go much further, or it could fail before, because as we always say on the show, this is probabilities. We're just looking to move the probabilities into our favor. So for the moment, this for me is a buy. It's made its base. Now, if it comes back below this trigger point, which is kind of right on now, so it's right on this trigger point, which is a the level where you would take the position, 0.086. I would allow it a little bit of space, because obviously I think with these particular markets you've got to give it a bit of leeway. So if it comes back down to about 0.079, or maybe a bit below that, I would give it a bit of leeway, but I don't want to see it mess around here. And what I mean by that is, if something's going to take off, if a plane's taking off, if it starts to mess about, there's a problem. It's got to abort. And so if it starts to abort this move, then it will not look good. So if it's going to move, it's got to move fast, basically, or soon. So as long as it sort of stays within this area and then trades up, then it'll look good to me. And we could use this developing upward trend line as a kind of parachute level. What I like to I always try to think of an area where I would get out, because I know once you're in a market, it's really difficult to get out, or press the button, and it's much easier to sit and hope that it will go up, unless, as we always say, that the technology is a good one and it's a good long-term buy. So very interesting one from a technical point of view. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to share my screen again. Let's see. Yeah, perfect. I'm looking at CoinGecko. There's some things I really like about it. Number one, 61% of their tokens are in circulation already. I like that. Project's been out. If you look, it's been tradable since almost a year ago, right? So April. I like that time frame. It has pumped to some higher highs. Seems like it's doing this rounded bottom here. That doesn't mean it doesn't go up and then come back down to close to this and then take a little while to take off. But I'm liking that. If you look at the website, want to share this from it. Introducing the future of NFTs, smart NFTs. Imagine a video game sword that gets stronger every time it is used to slay a monster. Smart NFTs have properties that can change based on certain conditions. So I like that idea of taking NFTs that might be like, say, on the Binance Smart Chain or Polygon, that these NFTs get upgraded by use, right? So they become stronger and the properties change.
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Cool. That's the future. And so I think this narrative will do well, even if this doesn't end up winning for the project that does this. And maybe it does end up winning. Maybe they dominate this space in the future. It's going to be a very competitive space in the future with Ubisoft and other projects coming in. And what could happen is a project like this gets acquired by a massive game maker, and then the token does even better. But I like that idea behind it. I like where the vesting is at. It's unfortunately only on so it was at 42 cents. It's at 7 cents. So it's only 1/6 of its previous high from November. So, I mean, it's 5/6 off, which is what, 82% discount. So I wish it was a little bit cheaper, but I made a note to myself that I'm probably going to pick some of this up. It's tradable on gate.io. If you use our gate.io link in the bottom, if you don't have an account there and you get one, you get 20% of your own commission on trades back by using our link. If you just go directly to them and sign up, you get nothing. Like my sign up, I get nothing. I don't even get 20% of my own because I didn't have my own link yet. So I created that link because it allows me to give back a bunch of the fees to you. So in the audience, if that's of interest to you and you want a gate.io account, it's a good deal that you can get some of your own commissions back. So yeah, I made a note to myself because I don't have any of this, and I feel good enough about where it's at. What it will just be a smaller entry, and I'll secretly be hoping that it comes all the way down to like 4 cents, and really be hoping that it comes all the way down to 1 cent, so I can buy a lot more, because I think this narrative will at least win in the short term. So
Yeah, great stuff.
those are my thoughts. Let's take a look at RACA, which I don't know. RACA.
RACA. So RACA, which is either it's right. Okay, so
I have Radio Caca.
yeah. Okay. So that would be that one. Okay. Yeah, that's not the for any Italians out there. I think that's not a great name, but interesting. So I won't say any more about that. But look, this is it's one that trades well again technically. Nice smooth, price patterns, smooth downward trend rally, smooth downward trend rally. The rallies are flat and the downward trends are muted. So sorry, the rallies are muted. The downward trends are still dominant here. So, this is good. This is really good price action, but the trend rate has definitely fallen off. So I would say it's still okay as long as it can hold above this support. So, when I'm looking at this in terms of what's called Elliott wave, in Elliott wave, what you're looking for is impulsive waves, and then like sharp impulsive waves, and then a corrective wave. Now this hasn't given what would be the first 5 impulsive waves. So you've got 1, 2, and then 3, and the market's come back down. So this would suggest that this is more in a sideways correction, and it hasn't got the power yet to go higher. So although it's not immediately bearish, and I think it's done well to hold up it given the current environment. 2 things I'd be looking out for. One is if it takes out this low here, then it's in another downward leg, and you could be, looking at a move down towards this level 0.008, which would be an extremely strong support area. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it will 100% respect it, but if it does, that's a really good sort of buying point, or it should stop there. So whether you want to buy it there or not is another matter, but it should stop at that point if it gets there. In order for it to reverse out of this range, well, at least it's holding in, whereas the others were downward trend. These other moves were, traveling low, where this is traveling sideways and consolidating. So we'd have to look for a move over 0.002 to take it out of that, create a double bottom. Hopefully we'd see some sharp green candles that will take it out of this lethargic sideways move and sort of kickstart the trend. So, for me, that this will have to be a wait, but it's a very interesting chart nonetheless, and trades nicely from a technical point of view. So I'll be keeping an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to do some quick fundamentals on this, and I don't know what to make of their website. So I'll share my screen, and I can share with the audience a little bit about what I'm looking at. So on CoinGecko, we're looking at, so they're less than a penny here, right? Essentially 0.17 cents. They did reach a total of 1.1 cent in November when they really pumped. So it went all the way up here, down here. Looking at their website is really interesting. I'll show you the first link that it takes you to. And it's a little bit overwhelming. They have a lot going on here. So Radio Caca token overview, the genesis of it. And so they kind of break you down through that. They give you their total supply. Looking more through it, they have a burning mechanism on it. So 11.4% or 7 million have been bought back and burned. It shows you how much is staked. So I like this kind of transparency. I would have to know more about the team and what I think about this, where it's going, because then they have like this RACA cross chains. They have the made them on game. They have the USM metaverse and USM chain, which is the United States of Mars. So they have a lot of things going on here that I'm just unfamiliar with. I don't know what to think of it. It would take deeper research from me. I like where the chart is going with this nice, like it's rounding bottom here. But I would have to know more on the fundamentals, because I like to buy when the charts look good to me. At the same time, when also I like the longer term fundamentals of projects. So I'm not 100% sure what I think about this yet as far as the team and the fundamentals. Though I like where the price action is at. For me, it's a wait till I would look more into that and find out more on them.
Sure. No, that sounds sensible. Yeah, so I think the last one we've got here is CEEK, CEEK,
CEEK? Yeah.
CEEK, depending how you pronounce that. So what do you think that is?
CEEK Smart VR token price chart is what I'm finding on CoinGecko. They're not.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. And
Is it around 0.35?
I'm seeing, yeah,
Okay.
35 cents. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Again, this is interesting. So in terms of a correction, well, look at where it is first of all. In terms of the bigger picture trend, it is massively elevated. So I really want to know what this is doing. Second, what we've got in terms of Elliott wave is a 1, 2, 3 wave correction, and so that is a correction against the main trend. So this means that this whole area here could potentially just be a corrective phase before we go into the next bull market. So that's interesting. So it needs to hold this low for sure, and it's trading really nicely from a technical point of view as well. So it seems to respect good technical levels. So this 0.45 was support, acted as resistance twice there, which is great. So if we can cross 0.45, then I think this would look really, really good. Now, would I be tempted to buy in here? If I put a gambling hat on, yes, but I would also be bailing out if it took this low out, because that wouldn't be good, and it may be saying that this is an extended trend before the broader upward trend resumes. But I like the fact that it's so elevated and it's managed to hold in from a longer term perspective. Let's see what we've got on a trend line. The trend line comes in. You see, that's acted really quite well as well. So if we can take that out, then it would add to the bullish picture. So how long has it been going sideways? So most of the year it's been going sideways. Where's the beginning of, sideways to down. So it started the year here. So it had its downward trend early, and then it's consolidating, that's really interesting that it's consolidating while everything else has come off. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. And as I say, 0.45, if it takes that out, that would be a really good signal.
Yeah. Interesting. For me, this is a wait. I just don't know enough about it. And, it's such a cheap price before 0.6 cents, and it's still trading at 35 cents. I'm just concerned it's going to do a bigger retracement. It did go all the way to $1.12. So congratulations to anyone who picked this up for essentially half a cent or under a penny. And it rode all the way up to $1.12. So that was 100x. Hopefully they took profits along the way. And now it's in the retracement pattern, and it might get a lot cheaper. It might continue this pattern downwards. Who knows? Could break up from here. My guess is it breaks down, but I don't know on the fundamentals that much about it. I do like that it's been out for quite a while, since March. So let me share my screen so that people can see. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So it's been all the way out since February of 2021. But look at this big pump. It was trading under a penny for some of this, and then went all the way up here. So congratulations to them. And then way down to 35 cents, possibly going to get cheaper, because remember, all these people that bought here still have the ability to sell and be in massive profit. Possibly their token investing to pre-sale investors is done. So anyway, this was a great one for a suggestion for us to look at, and hopefully some people in the audience made a killing on this one, because prior to mid-November, this one was really, really cheap. In fact, this is right around when the metaverse announcement came out, and that's when it went absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think that would I definitely would have preferred that to the one I bought, because that is like, yeah, it's done brilliantly. So as you say, well done, great stuff.
All right, well, great. That's everything we have for the show today. For those in the audience joining us, we appreciate it. Give us your suggestions of what you want to see next week for us to look at. These are really exciting times, so exciting that it often drowns us in our emotions of monotony, where everything in the market is really cheap. So, yeah, what's great about this time is this is the time that people look back to, say, 5 months from now, and they say, boy, I wish I could have been in the market at that time because prices were so much cheaper. But when you're actually living through it, you forget to be grateful for this down market where you're in the total clearance section and you're trying to pick between 60% off, 70% off, 80% off, 90 or 95, and sometimes 98% off. The downside is that sometimes these last a while, and so you just kind of like get numb to it, and we forget to buy when it's very, very boring. Thank you for joining us. If you're looking to level up your crypto game and haven't joined us already, what are you doing? Join the family, and we will see you all next time.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit right before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the post that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Why when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic, they dumped it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Made the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. The time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, studying to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge to gain. Show, thinking out this wrong, cause soon will come a bear market. We're learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crappy. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. This game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.
Love that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, are we out? It's still showing.
I don't know. It says live over there, right?
Hopefully we're not